Wait, what? Hey, this is the Wait, what? Podcast with Mandy Brooke. I'm an entertainer, content creator, and musician. You may know me from my song parodies and funny antics on Instagram and TikTok. On my podcast, we try to make sense of the confusing parts of life because literally we're all winging it and have no idea what we're doing, and that's totally okay. So relax, grab a glass of wine, and let's chat. Hey, besties. So parenting is tough. I wouldn't know because I'm not a parent, and you'll understand why after listening to this episode. But my mom certainly does. Mom knows how to parent a quote-unquote difficult child, aka me. Yes, my childhood garnered some hilarious and cringeworthy stories that her and I will be telling today. But it also taught my parents very valuable lessons about patience. So if you're a parent out there wondering how the heck to deal with your crazy kid, maybe some of these stories will teach you a thing or two, or at the very least, make you chuckle. Welcome to the podcast, Mom.
Hi, Mandy. Good morning.
So today we're going to be talking about my childhood stories.
But yeah, it was challenging for sure.
Tell us a little bit, or tell the listeners a little bit about me as a kid, because I asked on my Instagram what people wanted to hear, and they said childhood stories.
Wow.
So, yeah.
We have a lot of them.
Yeah, we have quite a few.
I don't even know where to start on that one.
Maybe explain a little bit of how I was as a kid.
How Mandy was as a kid. Mandy was not a bad child. You were just always going.
Like I am now.
Literally. Like if I said, Mandy, don't touch that, you would touch it. You would just look at me, right at me, and just touch it and smile. I had to literally pick and choose when I was going to discipline you and when I wasn't, because it could have been an all day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Every hour, every minute. Okay, perfect example. I had to go to the doctors and you were little and we went to the doctors and I got Samantha and you and we're sitting at the desk and I'm talking to the doctor and Samantha's just sitting there and you were standing up and you were playing with his pens that were like laying on the desk. You weren't doing anything quote unquote bad. You weren't sitting there like Samantha was, just sitting there patiently. You didn't have any patience. And I remember the doctor saying, you might think that's funny, but I don't. I never went back to that doctor again because I remember saying to him, she's not doing anything wrong. And I just thought, you rude fucker. It's a fucking pen. Like, you have no idea. This is nothing. But also I remember being in like Walgreens and you being in a stroller and you had said nothing. You were just sitting there and we were in line and this guy says to me, I'm just waiting for her head to spin around. Swear to God. Swear to God, he said that to me. We were in like CVS or something in Maryland, and just the look that you had on your face, like you just, I knew you were getting ready to do something.
So for the listeners out there that have difficult children to manage, what were some of the skills that you acquired in raising me? And what were some of the lessons that you learned?
To be honest, it took a while. I thought it was me because Samantha was born and we had her for 3 years before you came along. Mm-hmm. And Samantha was a very easy child. You told her to sit down and read a book. That's what the kid did. She sat there and read a book. I did the dishes. All was good. You, on the other hand, forget about it. I couldn't take my eyes off you for a second. You was sticking popsicle sticks into the VCR. You were, whatever. I can't throwing shit down in the toilet. Like, it just did not matter. You just did stuff to see if you were going to get a reaction from me. So it was constant.
I'm so sorry, Mom.
Constant. You're swallowing rocks, and who fucking eats a rock? Like, you're stupid shit like that. Like, who does that? And yeah, so It was challenging. And then one time I was in the library with you kids because I would always try to do things with you every day. And I saw this book and it said How to Raise a Difficult Child. And I guess at the time you were about maybe 2. And I opened the book in the library and read like one paragraph out of the middle of the book. And I thought, these people are living in my freaking house.
Oh my gosh.
I really did. And it changed the way I had to change the way I was thinking. And the things that I was doing, you were different. And I had to, I couldn't beat the shit out of you all day long because that was not working. It really wasn't working. I'd cuff you on the top of the head and it didn't matter. It didn't matter what I did to you. So I had to figure out how to get to you.
And from that book, what did you learn about quote unquote difficult children?
Well, for one thing, I changed my mind about difficult children. I don't think they're difficult. That's key. Mm-hmm. They're not difficult. They're just doing things different.
Got it.
That's it. You're receiving it as difficult because things aren't going like you would think they would go.
Okay.
You got freaking kicked out of freaking preschool, for God's sake. Like, it was a whole thing.
You know what? The reason why I got kicked out of preschool was some bitch stole my Barbie and I bit her because she bit me first.
The teacher called me up and she was like, we need to talk to you about Mandy. And I got up there and she was telling me that you were acting out. And my first response was, well, what the fuck did what did she do to her? Because she had to do something for Mandy to do that. It was not the right response, but whatever. But yeah, I didn't want you labeled as a difficult child. So the next preschool we went to, I didn't say a word. Mm-hmm. If I would have went in there with the thing like, look, Mandy's this way, they would have already labeled you. And I didn't want them to do that to you. And they didn't. You were eccentric even then. You went to preschool with, everybody could bring like a blanket. Or like, a little towel or something. You brought a freaking fitted sheet you had to have this fitted blue sheet. And like,
I loved that sheet so much. I loved the feeling of it.
It was so embarrassing. So embarrassing. It went with this ripped blue and faded ripped sheet.
I loved the smoothness of it. That was my favorite. I still have that somewhere.
I know you do.
It was my blanket.
It was all about how to respond to you. And I had to change everything that I was thinking. So I did. Okay, here's an example. I would tell Samantha, go in your room and clean up the crayons on the floor.
Got it.
Okay. She'd pick up her crayons. I'd come look and be like, yay, here's a cookie. Go watch Barney. I would tell you to go clean up your room and I'd walk in. It would be more destroyed than it was before. I learned that you weren't trying to be difficult. You just couldn't focus. So I would sit down in your room and I'd have to be like, Mandy, pick up the red crayon and put it in your box. And you'd go and you'd pick up the red crayon and you put it in your box. And we would do that for hours.
Oh my God. This is why I will not have children, guys. I don't think I have the patience or focus for it.
This is why I have gray hair and anxiety issues and I'm really angry sometimes.
So one of the things that you mention a lot, Mom, is that I needed to know what to expect every single day. Yes. And I'm saying this for the listeners that may have a kid that's similar to this. I feel like I'm a pretty functioning person of society,
You are.
I can't focus very well, but I can sure cook a noodle,
Yeah, but to this day, you got shit to do, and then I'll find you in there cleaning out the refrigerator. Like, what the fuck you doing?
I know.
Like, what is that? Like, it drives me nuts.
As a kid, I needed to know what to expect at any given point. So if my mom told me, hey, we're going to have dinner tonight, and if I, in my mind, thought, oh, we're going to have mashed potatoes and chicken, and she ordered a pizza, even though I like pizza,
you'd fall out.
I would fall the fuck out. Because
you'd fall on the floor, hit your head, roll around, scream and yell. It was a whole freaking scene.
And you thought that I was doing that on purpose.
At first, I thought, what the fuck is wrong with this kid? Like, I'm going to kill her. And I realized after reading that book that what happens to someone like you is you get a vision in your head. So the parent will say, oh, we're going to go to the library and then we're going to go to Kmart and then we're going to go to the pool. God forbid I had to get gas. Mm-hmm. I'd pull up to the gas station and start to get gas and you fucking hysterical. What the fuck's wrong with you? Just throwing a fit. Because I didn't do exactly what I told you what we were going to do. We had a pit stop and you couldn't understand it. Mm-hmm. I realized that I would have to tell you, if you asked, Mommy, what are we having for dinner tonight? I would have to tell you what we were going to have. And I couldn't change that.
Mm-hmm. The more that I reveal a little bit about my childhood on my Instagram.
Yeah, you need to be on medication. Now I know that. You should have fucking been on medication, but you didn't. But whatever.
There are so many school teachers that have messaged me, and I'm not trying to self-diagnose here at all. I've never been to a doctor about this, but they said that you exhibit traits of being on the autism spectrum.
I believe that.
Even as an adult, I feel like my brain really doesn't work like a lot of people's brains. Not that I'm some sort of special savant or something like that, but even to this day, if I don't know what the heck's going on, I feel so chaotic. I am not grounded. I feel absolutely fucking ballistically crazy. I just don't fall out and have a tantrum, of course, but
you still do.
Yes,
she does. Yes, she does. She's lying.
In private. In private, I do.
You're lying. I've had doctors that you would tell me that you should have been on medication, or they wanted to put you on medication. You were 3 years old. I was not putting you on medication.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to give you what you needed from me so you could thrive when you got to school.
And you really let me be myself. You didn't try to suffocate me in conforming and behaving the way that a quote-unquote normal kid should.
Well, that's because that was killing your personality. I didn't want to do that. Who am I to do that to you? You were not a bad kid. You were not mean. You didn't go out and hit kids in the playground, or you just got yourself into trouble.
And then I feel like the older I got, the more I felt I couldn't get in trouble at all. Like if I had to move my apple,
it's devastating.
I'd be devastated for days. And you'd get yearly calls from the teachers. I think I would hold it in so long in school that I would get really frustrated with a concept, usually math. And I was so frustrated with myself that I didn't get it that I would just start to cry.
I'd get a call and I'd go into the teacher's office and they would say, Mandy's really smart. She's so smart and she tries really hard. But just say we're doing a test and she won't go past question 3 and go to question 4 until she's 1,000,000,000,000,000,000% sure that 3 is correct.
This has been the theme of my entire life, guys.
You wouldn't. So a lot of people can put question 3 on the side, finish the test, and then go back to question 3 and review. And your brain couldn't do that. Mm-hmm. So how do you work with that? Do I need to put a freaking kid on medication because of that? I don't think so. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I personally did not think so.
I have so much guilt about how I was as a kid sometimes, the Catholic guilt. So let's get into some funny stories, though, because there's plenty.
So one time, I used to work at school, and you had a field trip at the police station. I think you did a video on this.
I did. And Monica's open house actually reposted it. But before you get into this, there was a trend going around on TikTok where you rapped a story to this Nicki Minaj song. And the first story that I thought of was this story that we're about to tell. Keep going on.
I worked at school. We went to the police stations. Everybody standing outside. It's a just say no.
It was a dare field trip for all the millennials listening.
Yeah. Of course, you're right up front. And I'm in the back, with the moms and stuff. And a cop is talking. And you turn around in the middle of this. I mean, it must have been 60 kids and parents and everything. And you scream, Mom, you gotta stop doing all those drugs.
Oh my God.
And if I could have fucking melted onto the ground and disappeared for the rest of my life, that would have been fine with me. To this day, it's the most embarrassing thing that has ever happened to me in my entire life. It was because of cigarettes, because I smoked.
The police guy was saying, cigarettes and drugs. And then that's when I thought, oh, cigarettes are drugs.
Yeah.
And then I just had to say it.
So if you can just picture it, I'm standing there. My kid turns around and says this. Everybody turns around and looks at me, including the cop.
The whole Edgewater police station.
What do? Do you sit there and try to defend yourself? Or do you just shut up? Whatever move I made would have looked bad. So I just took it. And of course, the teacher was there and she kind of laughed. She knew I wasn't like a drug addict. going home doing drugs. And if I was going to do drugs, it would have been that day coming home from that field trip.
So fast forward to 5th grade on the last field trip.
We're all in the room and all the moms are reminiscing. And then here we go. One mom goes, do you remember that field trip down at the police station? And I fucking died. I'm like, this thing is never going to leave me, ever, ever, ever.
And now it's on permanent record on a podcast.
Yeah,
We love
it. And, I sat there and was like, that was me. And they'd all turn around and that was you. I'm like, yep, that was me. And that was Mandy. They're like, really? Yeah.
I'm so sorry. So speaking of 5th grade, around that time, I started watching A Walk to Remember.
Jesus.
A million times a day. Okay, I loved that movie more than I could possibly ever tell. I could probably recite that movie. And I insisted I needed a sweater and I needed to wear overalls to school every fucking day. Is that
where that came from?
Yes, that came from A Walk to Remember because I wanted to be Jamie so bad. Why? Why didn't I choose a more stylish character? I don't know.
Oh my God. I remember having a talk with you about the overalls. Like, come on, girl.
I would refuse to wear anything else. I wore overalls, a sweater, and a ponytail every fucking day.
You did.
And I remember you pulling me aside in my room before I started middle school, and you were like, Mandy, you really need...
You're going to be that girl.
You're going to be that weird girl at school. You have to dress differently.
From here on, for the rest of your life, if you start middle school in a freaking fucking overalls, like, come on now.
Oh my God.
Change it up a little bit. But I always let you dress the way you wanted to dress. Like, I always did. I let you wear your hats. You wore your hats when you were 2 years old, and you had...
my scarves and gloves.
Yes, you did.
Samantha was so embarrassed.
You had hats the whole time. You had this one white hat with yellow flower on it. You wore that a lot.
I remember that.
Mm-hmm. You'd get all dressed, and you'd come out in a hat, and your father would be like, could you please tell her to take that hat? I'm like, nope, that's the way she wants to wear it. I don't care. She's wearing it. I just let you be who you wanted to be. I tried to.
Mm-hmm.
You can't squish the kids.
You gotta let them be themselves. So I remember the first day of middle school, and I decided not to wear overalls. And I was so excited because I had an American Eagle t-shirt. I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I'm gonna start middle school off the right way. And I felt so pretty. And I walked into the middle school bleachers where all the kids were being held before homeroom. And I found a friend that I had in 5th grade, and I sat next to him on the bleachers. And I'll never forget this for the rest of my life. This kid came up in front of us on the bleachers, and he turned around to the kid I was sitting next to, and he said, why are you sitting next to that fat girl?
Aww. I'm sorry.
It was terrible because I was like riding such a fucking high.
Middle schoolers are so mean.
And the kid that I was sitting next to like just looked at me, and then he moved. And then I sat by myself.
Aww.
And that was the first day of middle school. And then I made friends and everything was fine. But it was literally the worst. It was probably the worst introduction to middle school I could possibly ever imagine. But, I rose above. But I'm glad I wasn't wearing overalls at the time, because that would have been fucking terrible. Yeah. Imagine.
Yeah. That was the first time you bought your lunch, too. I had to talk you in, like, look, let's just talk. Like, look. We're going to talk a second. So I made these kids breakfast every morning before they went to school, and I would pack their lunch every single day.
She would.
And when they got to middle school, and then make their dinner too. Shoot me. But anyway, when they got to middle school, I was like, enough already. I had to talk with them about, you're going to buy your lunch at school. That was a big issue.
And I couldn't imagine myself standing in line and doing it. And it wasn't that it was difficult. It was that I was just so petrified because I was used to having lunch already there. Like the thought, oh my God, I can't do it. I cannot do it.
Because you knew what you had in that bag.
I knew what I had in that bag. Even if I didn't know, I trusted you.
To have something you would, yeah.
Yeah. I was so fucked up when I was a kid.
But this is the breakdown of kids' brains, though. Like, that's the thing. Back then, it was more about, I'm not making your fucking lunch for the rest of your life. Like, come on now. It just goes to show you what kids are thinking. The parents are thinking something completely different. Both of you kids, when you got into middle school, I gave you guys a alarm clock and responsibility to get up on your own. And,
I remember my alarm clock.
If you don't get up until 5 minutes before we leave, that's on you. we're leaving. You miss school, you're going to have a problem. You're the one that's going to have to catch up with the homework.
Yeah, you never made our homework or schoolwork your problem. You would always help, but you gave us a lot of independence when it came to responsibility.
Yeah.
Like, you just trusted us to do the right thing. Remember my alarm clock?
I do.
Uh-huh. Samantha chose a digital one, and I chose an old-fashioned gold one with, like, the ringers on the top.
The bells on the top.
The bells on the top. And then every morning we'd go, and I would have to click a button on the top. Anyway, I swear to God I had a past life in, like, the 1912 or something. Let's talk about the time when I was potty training.
Oh, my God.
So my grandma on my mom's side, she didn't fully believe how quote unquote difficult I was.
So my mom's has 5 kids. I'm the baby of 5. I would be on the phone with my mom saying this and this and this, you know, and she would, oh, Mary, you know, come on, for Lord's sake. And, you know, I've raised 5 kids and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. So we came down here for vacation and my mom was baffled. I remember sitting down for dinner at my mom's and she had made a fabulous dinner. And the minute we sat down for dinner, you would start screaming or yelling, snot coming down your face. I remember my mother throwing her fork down and picking you up and walking down the street so I could eat. That very same time, we were potty training you. I think your father and I had went somewhere, get home, and my mother's sitting outside and she's shaking her head. And I'm like, what? And she said, your child, I have never seen anything like it in my life. She said she had to go potty. She went into the bathroom. She said, I saw her go into the bathroom. I saw her come back out. Then she comes and tells me, look, what you had done is you had went into the bathroom, got yourself some toilet paper, walked into her bedroom, took a shit on her floor in the middle of the rug, got done taking your shit, got some more toilet paper, put it back on the pile of shit.
Oh my God.
And then came to show her that you took a shit and you were so proud of yourself.
I think
you were so proud of yourself.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm on the spectrum, Mom. I really do.
And I'm like, I'm so sorry.
Oh my God.
You know what? It's okay. You survived. It's all good.
Mm-hmm.
You survived.
I remember the first time I said fuck. I was riding my bike down Riverside Drive and I had never cussed before. People probably were staring at me thinking that there was something like mentally wrong with me.
I'm sure.
Because I was just riding down the road. Fuck! 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 I was just like screaming it. Oh my gosh. And then Dad, he would gather me and Samantha in the back of the truck and he would turn around. He said, okay, your mom's not here. It's time to say it. And we would go, fuck a duck, fuck a duck, fuck a duck. And my dad would laugh and laugh. He would laugh so hard he was crying, like in the front seat of the truck. Oh, God. We had quite a dichotomy of things going on.
Okay, so we went to church every Sunday, or tried to, and they had a children's choir. Well, Mandy sings. She's good at it. And you wanted to be in the choir. Oh, it's only people in the school. And I said, back the fuck up. What do you mean there's only people in the school that can go? We're Catholic. We go to this church, and I got a kid that sings. Long story short, your ass was in choir.
You made that happen.
You know what I mean? Like, I picked you up from school a little early on Tuesdays or something, and you did the choir for a couple years.
I would sing Jingle Bell Rock every Christmas.
They always stood you up on the podium in church, and they always backed up the box a little bit because your voice was so big. And then you went to the little theater and did that.
I loved acting even as a kid.
Yeah.
That was so fun. So there's
I had to keep you busy.
You did have to keep me busy. I needed to be stimulated, for sure. Tell them about the time that you tried to put me in YMCA for summer.
Oh, Jesus, that was a disaster.
Summer was terrible.
Look, I had to work. Anyway, I signed you up for the YMCA. I thought it'd be good, meet some friends. They had a pool. Win-win. Day 1, come get your daughter. Jesus Christ, I was only at work for like an hour. So I get down there and you're sitting there crying, and they're like, the lady, I remember the exasperated look on her face. I'll never forget it. Like, get her out of here. Actually, just the look on her face pissed me off. So I took you out. He's like, let's go home.
So what happened at the YMCA was I didn't want to go. I remember being so anxious about it days leading up to it. And I couldn't hardly sleep the night before because I just did not want to do it. You dropped me off and we played a little bit and then we went outside. You know how much I hate sweating. And they played kickball and I ran to the base and one of the teachers told me to do something. That was the trigger for me. I had it and I just walked off the field. I was so done.
You weren't doing it.
I was not fucking doing it. And I went back in and I started to cry and I said, call my mom. I want to be picked up. And you were so fucking mad.
I was so mad.
We live and learn.
You lived through it. You survived.
I know I was kind of difficult, Mom, but look how amazing I am now.
This be true.
I'm just kidding.
No, this be true. Look at you go.
You know, it was because of you and your parenting skills. You really nurtured me in the ways that I really needed to be nurtured.
Aww.
And you never squashed my personality ever. You or Dad.
No, we didn't.
And you always let me be myself. And thank you for having so much patience.
I need to smoke a cigarette. Are we done?
Yeah, we're done.
I love you guys, but like, Jesus.
Go smoke a cigarette, Mom.
All right. Peace out.
A-Town down.
Okay, bye.
I hope you enjoyed these stories. They may have been a little embarrassing to recount, but I wear them as a badge of honor because without that insane little girl, I wouldn't be who I am now. And I certainly wouldn't be who I am if it weren't for my very patient and nurturing family who didn't squash my personality, especially my mom. Thank you. I love you so much. And if you're a parent out there wondering how to deal with your quote-unquote difficult child, I hope these stories helped. And to know that you're not alone. With patience and nurturing, your kid will grow up to be awesome, like me. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, review, and share so it becomes visible to more besties like you. Until next time, be a fucking delight, bitch.